The first time I found the key, I told myself there had to be a normal explanation. That was what people did when they were still trying to believe in their own marriage. They looked at the small brass key on the kitchen counter, the one with a yellow plastic tag and no label, and decided it was for a classroom cabinet or a supply closet, or one of those old art room drawers my wife was always complaining about. Then I found the phone. It was tucked behind the flour canister, face down, silent, wrapped in a dish towel, like something that needed to be hidden even from the walls. When I picked it up, the screen lit long enough for me to see one message. Is the room ready yet? No name, no picture, just a number I didn't recognize. Nora came into the kitchen right then, still wearing her teacher badge, her hair damp from the rain, and the look on her face told me the phone was not for a classroom cabinet. What is this? I asked. She didn't answer. That was the moment I started losing her in my head, long before I understood what she was actually trying to save. My name is Caleb Turner. I'm 37 and I make my living opening things people cannot open themselves. Locked front doors at midnight. Cars in grocery store parking lots. Old safes inherited from grandfathers. I drive a white van around Spokane with Turner Lock and Key printed on the side in blue letters peeling at the edges. It is not romantic work, but it is honest. Most days I smell like machine oil, brass dust, and coffee that has been reheated too many times. I like practical problems. A lock either turns or it doesn't. A hinge either hangs straight or it sags. People are not like that, which is probably why I spent most of my life pretending the complicated parts of them could be ignored if you kept the bills paid and the porch light working. She taught art at an elementary school on the north side. Her car was always full of paper scraps, glue sticks, coffee cups, and drawings children had made for her because they thought teachers slept under their desks and lived on apples. She had this way of bringing color into every room without making it feel staged. A blue bowl on the table, sunflowers in a chipped vase, a painted rock by the sink that said breathe in crooked yellow letters. We were not rich. We had a small house with a cracked driveway, a furnace that knocked in winter, and an elderly orange cat named Biscuit, who treated clean laundry like it had been placed on earth for his personal comfort. We ate dinner late because my emergency calls always came at inconvenient times. Nora would leave a plate in the microwave with a sticky note on top. Quiet mattered to me. I grew up in a family where quiet never lasted. My mother left when I was 12. My father drank his disappointment out loud. My younger sister, Marin, learned early how to charm her way out of consequences. I learned how to become useful. Fix the sink. Make dinner. Pick Marin up when she missed the bus. Pretend I did not hear my father crying in the bathroom at 2 in the morning. Marin and I loved each other badly. She had a talent for needing rescue and resenting the person who showed up. I had a talent for showing up with a lecture already loaded in my mouth. By the time she had Jonah, her son, we were barely speaking except during emergencies. Then one winter she got sick, then worse, and then she was gone before either of us had learned how to apologize without keeping score. Jonah went to live with his father's side of the family in Idaho. I sent money once through an aunt. It came back. After that, I folded that whole part of my life into a box inside my chest and taped it shut. The first change was small. Nora started coming home later on Tuesdays and Thursdays. She said the school had expanded its after-hours art program, and I believed her because it sounded exactly like the kind of thing she would volunteer for without thinking about how tired she already was. One night near midnight, I heard the washing machine running. I went down the hall because the washer shook if the load was uneven, and I found Nora kneeling in front of it, pushing a dark hoodie into the drum. That mine? I asked. She flinched. Not much, just enough. No, it's from school. Donation bin got rained on. I said I'd wash a few things. The hoodie was black, too small for me, with a frayed cuff and a white paint mark near the pocket. The next week, I noticed money missing from our joint savings. Not a fortune. That would have been easier to confront. This was smaller, careful amounts. $80, $120, $65. Always cash withdrawals. Always on days when Nora said she stayed late at school. I hated what suspicion did to me. It made me ugly in small, private ways. I started noticing the angle of her phone when she set it down. I started counting the seconds before she answered simple questions. I watched her face instead of listening to her words. One evening I came home early because a commercial job canceled. The house smelled like soup, but Nora was not in the kitchen. The back door was cracked open, cold air slipping in. I heard her voice from the porch. He can't know yet, she whispered. Not until the room is ready. I stood with my hand on the doorframe. I stepped away before she could see me. I went into the living room and pretended to fix the loose hinge on the TV cabinet. My hands moved automatically. Screwdriver, pressure, quarter turn. But inside my head, every good thing Nora had ever said to me began rearranging itself into evidence. I did not break into Nora's phone. I did not install anything on her car, but I did start keeping notes. Then, on a wet Thursday in November, I saw her. I had just finished rekeying a duplex near Garland when Nora's Subaru passed through the intersection ahead of me. School had ended hours earlier. She was supposed to be at a curriculum night. Instead, she turned east, away from the school, toward an older part of town where the apartment buildings sat low behind chain-link fences. I followed. Nora parked in front of a brick apartment building with a flickering porch light. She got out carrying 2 brown paper grocery bags and a rolled-up rug under one arm. A teenage boy came down the steps to meet her. She set the bags down and he hugged her. By the time I drove home, I had built an entire story around that hug. Nora had a secret. Maybe not the one I first feared, but secret was secret. A boy, a room, money, lies. And somehow I was the last person allowed to know. A few days later, I found the envelope. I was looking for packing tape in the old desk Nora used for lesson plans. The drawer stuck, so I pulled too hard, and a stack of watercolor paper slid forward. Under it was a manila envelope, folded once, tucked beneath a tin of broken crayons. Inside were photocopies, a birth certificate, a social services form, a note written in handwriting I had not seen in years. Jonah Reed, Marin Turner. For a few seconds, I heard nothing but the furnace knocking in the basement. Marin's name stared up at me like a door I had locked and thrown away the key to had quietly appeared in the middle of my house. Nora knew. Nora had known enough to have papers. Nora had been going to that apartment. Nora had been taking money. Nora had been hiding my sister's son from me. The confrontation happened on a Sunday night. Nora had said she needed to run to the store, then came back 2 hours later with no groceries. She walked into the kitchen and stopped. I had laid everything on the table. The yellow tagged key, the printed bank statements, the thrift store receipt, the envelope, the hidden phone still wrapped in the dish towel. The kettle on the stove had boiled dry because I forgot I turned it on. The kitchen smelled faintly metallic. Biscuit, sensing human disaster in the air, had wedged himself under a chair. "Tell me I'm wrong," I said. Her face tightened. "About what?" I laughed once, but there was no humor in it. "Don't do that. Not tonight." "Are you leaving me?" I asked. Her head snapped up. "What? Are you building some other life and waiting until the room is ready before you tell me?" "No." "Then what is this?" She put both hands flat on the table. "I was trying to protect someone." "From me?" She did not answer fast enough. I nodded. "That's an answer." "No, it isn't. Caleb, please." "Please what? Please keep pretending I don't see you lying to me? Please ignore the cash, the phone, the key, the kid in the hoodie you've been sneaking around to meet?" She closed her eyes. When she opened them, there was something in them I had not expected. "I can't tell you everything yet," she said. The quiet after that was the loudest thing in the house. "You brought my sister into our house through the back door," I said. "You brought her son into my life without telling me. You decided I couldn't handle the truth, so you handed me a lie instead." Nora's tears slipped down her face. "Every time I tried to say her name, you shut down." She swallowed, because he had nowhere else. I picked up the yellow key and set it in front of her. "Whose apartment?" She whispered the address. "Take me there, Caleb. Now." For a moment, I thought she would refuse. Then she nodded, stood, and wiped her face with the sleeve of her coat. We drove separately because I did not trust myself to sit beside her. The apartment building looked smaller when I wasn't hiding across the street. The porch light still flickered. The rain had slowed to a mist. Nora waited at the bottom of the stairs until I got out of my van. "He doesn't know you're coming," she said. "Good. That is not good. He's 17, Caleb. He's scared of you." That hit harder than I wanted it to. "Why would he be scared of me?" Nora looked at me with exhausted sadness. "Because all he knows is that his mother loved you and you disappeared from every story after she died." She unlocked the apartment door. Inside, the place smelled like fresh paint, dust, and ramen noodles. It was only a studio, a narrow kitchen, a second-hand couch, a folding table with 2 mismatched chairs. Against the far wall was a twin mattress still partly wrapped in plastic. Beside it stood a small lamp shaped like a moon. There was no secret lover, no hidden marriage, no life Nora had built to escape me. A cardboard box sat open on the floor. Inside were socks, school notebooks, a toothbrush, and a set of colored pencils. On the counter was a receipt from the thrift store. Shelves, bedding, curtains, used desk lamp. The cash withdrawals, translated into cotton sheets and plastic hangers in a chipped blue bowl. The hidden phone was on the counter. "It's his," she said. "His uncle took the other one. I bought this so he could call someone if things got bad." Nora took a folded sheet of paper from her bag. Not the photocopy, the original letter. It was inside a clear plastic sleeve, protected from time in a way I had not protected anything from that part of my life. Marin gave this to me, Nora said. 3 months before she died. I stared at her. You met Marin? Once. At the hospital. You were in the parking lot arguing with your father on the phone. She asked me to come back the next day when you weren't there. Nora handed me the letter. The handwriting was Marin's. Messy, leaning too far right, impatient even on paper. Nora, Caleb won't listen if I ask him. He thinks I only call when I need something, and maybe he's right. But Jonah is the one good thing I did, and I'm scared he'll end up with people who treat him like a burden. If there ever comes a day when he needs family, please help him find Caleb. Don't let Caleb act like he has no heart. He has too much. That's the problem. Tell him I was sorry. Or don't. Maybe he already knows. I read it once. Then again. The words blurred. All the air seemed to leave the room. Nora sat beside me, not touching me. Jonah found the letter in a box of Marin's things. He contacted me through the school email because she had written my full name. I didn't know what to do at first. How long? 6 weeks. 6 weeks, I repeated. He was sleeping in a friend's garage when he reached out. His dad is gone. The relatives he was with were done with him, or he was done with them. I'm still not sure which version is completely true. I helped him get connected with a youth housing program, but the wait list was a mess. This apartment belongs to one of the school counselor's cousins. It's temporary, cheap, and not ideal, but it's safe. Because you once told me, word for word, I don't have a sister anymore. I have a scar. I remembered saying it. I remembered the night. I remembered Nora going quiet afterward and me feeling relieved because quiet meant the subject was dead. I was wrong to hide it, Nora said. I know that. I told myself I was protecting Jonah until he was ready. Then I told myself I was protecting you. Then I realized I was also protecting myself from what you might do when that door opened again. I wanted to say I would have helped. I would have come running. I would have been better than the version of me she was afraid of. Because for years I had trained everyone who loved me to leave that door alone. The door opened, and the boy from the rain stepped in carrying a paper bag and a plastic bottle of orange soda. Up close, he was painfully young. Too tall for his own body, with Marin's sharp chin and my father's wary eyes. The black hoodie hung off him like armor. Nora said, Jonah, this is Caleb. He looked at me like he had already decided not to need anything from me. Hey, I said. He found out, she said softly. And I should have told him sooner. He looked back at me. You mad? The question took something out of me. At you? No, at her? I looked at Nora. Her face was pale, tired, braced. I said. I still am a little. Not because she helped you. Jonah shifted the grocery bag in his arms. I told her not to tell you. I didn't want some guy showing up because he felt guilty. That was Marin speaking through him. Same blade, different hand. I don't know how to do this, I said. I should probably start there. I don't know how to be your uncle. I don't even know if I get to call myself that. But I knew your mom, I continued. Before everything got hard. Before we both got mean in the ways hurt people get mean. She used to eat cereal out of coffee mugs because she said bowls were too formal. She cheated at Monopoly. She sang along to the radio with the wrong words and got offended when anyone corrected her. The four of us stood there with all that missing time in the room. Nora near the door, Jonah with the groceries. Me on a second-hand couch, holding a letter from a dead woman who had somehow trusted me more than I trusted myself. Instead, I said, Can I fix that window? I pointed. The window above the radiator was crooked, letting in cold air. It doesn't close right. The latch is stripped. Jonah looked at the window, then at me. You're a locksmith. He studied me. Then he shrugged. It sticks when it rains. That was how I began. Not with a speech. Not with some promise I had not earned the right to make. With a screwdriver, a replacement latch, and my hands doing the only language they trusted. The repair took 20 minutes. I took longer on purpose because none of us were ready for what came after. Jonah sat on the mattress and pretended not to watch. Nora made coffee in a machine that sounded like it was fighting for its life. When she handed me a paper cup, our fingers touched and both of us looked away. After the window, I checked the deadbolt. Cheap, misaligned. I replaced it with one from the van. I tightened the final screw. Because the door should lock. On the drive home, Nora rode with me. The hidden phone sat between us in the cup holder like evidence from a trial neither of us had won. Finally, I pulled into an empty grocery store parking lot and turned off the engine. I'm sorry, I said. Nora stared through the windshield. For what part? For deciding the worst version of the story before I asked for the truth. And I'm sorry, I continued, that I made Marin's name impossible to say in our house. I am sorry I lied, she said. I kept telling myself there would be a right time. Then every day I waited made it harder to tell you. I watched you look at me like I was becoming a stranger, and I still didn't say it. No, I need you to hear me. It didn't just scare me. It made me feel like you had taken my place in my own life. Like everyone knew where the doors were except me. I don't want a marriage where we hide painful things because we're afraid the other person can't handle them. But I also can't demand honesty and punish you for believing the version of me I showed you. The next few weeks were not cinematic. No one healed over a montage. Jonah did not move in with us. Nora and I did not hold each other and erase the damage with one good cry. Real repair was duller and harder than that. I went to the apartment twice a week at first. Sometimes Jonah let me fix things. Sometimes he barely spoke. I repaired the window track, replaced a smoke detector, tightened a loose toilet seat, and installed a better strike plate on the front door. He watched everything with suspicion. At home, things were tender in the way bruises are tender. We moved carefully. We went to a counselor because Nora suggested it, and I surprised both of us by saying yes. The first session, I sat with my arms crossed until the counselor asked what I was afraid would happen if I uncrossed them. We made rules. No hidden phones, no private decisions that changed both our lives. If Jonah needed help, we talked about it together unless his safety required otherwise. If Marin's name came up, I did not get to freeze the room and call it coping. If Nora was afraid of my reaction, she had to tell me that too, not work around me like a broken stair everyone learned to skip. One Saturday, Jonah came over for dinner for the first time. Nora made tomato soup and grilled cheese because she said teenage boys were still partly made of bread. Biscuit sniffed Jonah's shoes with great suspicion, then accepted him by shedding on his backpack. Jonah stood in our living room, looking at the framed photos on the shelf. His eyes stopped on one of me and Marin as kids, sitting on the hood of my father's old truck. I had forgotten Nora kept it there. Or maybe I had pretended not to see it. She looks happy, Jonah said. She was sometimes, he nodded. People keep telling me she was complicated. That's what adults say when they don't know how to fit love and anger in the same sentence. Dinner was awkward, but not bad. Jonah answered questions with one or two words until Nora asked about the sketchbook sticking out of his bag. Then he opened up, just enough to show us a drawing of the apartment window I had fixed. He had drawn the latch in careful detail, the moon lamp glowing beside it. That's good, Nora said. Jonah shrugged. It's just a window. I looked at the drawing. No, it isn't. He knew what I meant. I could tell by the way he closed the sketchbook gently instead of snapping it shut. After dinner, Nora went to the kitchen, and Jonah lingered by the front door. I thought he was waiting for a ride back, but he pulled an envelope from his backpack. I have something, he said. I already knew before he handed it to me. Another letter. This one was for you, he said. I didn't give it to Nora because I was mad. At me, at everybody. That's fair, too. He sat on the bottom stair while I opened it. Caleb, if you are reading this, then I am either brave or dead, and knowing me, it is probably the second one. I don't know how to fix what we broke. I don't even know who started breaking it. Maybe Dad, maybe me, maybe you, with that face you make when you think being right will keep you safe. I was angry you stopped answering. I was angry you always sounded tired when I needed you. But I also knew I wore people out. I knew it and hated people for noticing. Jonah is not me. Please remember that. He may have my temper, and I am sorry in advance, but he deserves a door that opens. You were a better brother than I let you believe. Marin, by the time I finished, I could not see the page. Jonah stared at the floor. She wrote a lot of letters near the end. I didn't know. She said you might not come. I folded the letter carefully along its old creases. I didn't. It was the hardest thing I said that year. I didn't come, Jonah. Not when I should have. I can explain why, but explanations won't change it. His eyes were wet, but his face stayed guarded. Are you here now because of her letter? I'm here because you're here. That sounds like something adults say. It does. I'm sorry. Let me try again. I breathed in slowly. I'm scared I'll fail you. I'm scared you'll need more than I know how to give. I'm scared I'll look at you and see every fight I never fixed with your mom. But I want to be here anyway. Not perfectly. Probably not smoothly. But here. You don't have to call me anything, I said. You don't have to trust me fast. You don't have to make me feel better about the past. What do I have to do? Tell me when the window sticks again. He looked away, but I saw the smile this time. Nora stood in the kitchen doorway, one hand over her mouth. I had not known she was listening. For once, I didn't mind. That night, after Jonah left, I found Nora at the sink washing bowls that were already clean. I took the sponge from her hand and set it down. She leaned against the counter. I should have trusted you. I should have been someone easier to trust with pain. She shook her head. Don't let me off too easy. I'm not. Good. We stood there, close but not touching. I love you, she said. I had heard those words from her thousands of times. This time, they sounded less like comfort and more like work she was willing to do. I love you too, I said. But I'm still hurt, I know. And I'm still angry sometimes. I know. And I don't want us to pretend this became beautiful just because the secret wasn't what I feared. Her eyes softened. Neither do I. So we didn't pretend. We kept counseling. We argued badly once about money for Jonah's school clothes, and then went back and argued better. Nora learned to tell me when she was afraid I would shut down. I learned to say, I'm shutting down, instead of disappearing behind silence and calling it peace. Jonah started coming by on Wednesdays, at first for dinner, then laundry, then because our Wi-Fi was better. He never officially moved in, but Nora painted a small wooden tag with his name on it and hung it on an empty hook by the door. I pretended not to see him notice. One evening in early spring, I came home late from opening a minivan for a woman who had locked her keys inside with 3 bags of groceries and one very angry toddler. My shoulders hurt. My boots were wet. I expected the house to be dark. Instead, the kitchen light was on. 3 bowls of soup sat on the table. Nora was grading art projects. Jonah was at the counter making toast badly, burning the edges and scraping them over the sink. Biscuit sat on his backpack like a dragon guarding treasure. Nora looked up. Long call, tiny customer, big opinions. Jonah slid a plate toward me. Toast got murdered. I've eaten worse. He nodded toward the wall by the door. You added a hook. I took off my coat slowly. Yeah, there were 3 hooks now, mine with the van keys, Nora's with her painted lanyard. The third was empty except for a new key on a plain silver ring. Jonah stared at it. It's not a demand, I said. It's not a contract. It's just there. For when you need it. He picked up the key, turned it over in his palm. Nora was very still. Jonah clipped it to his backpack without saying anything. Then he went back to scraping toast like it was no big deal. But it was a big deal. I sat down at the table, and for a moment, nobody tried to name what was happening. The furnace knocked in the basement. Rain moved softly against the windows. The soup steamed between us. Nora's foot touched mine under the table. Careful, asking, not assuming. I let my foot stay. I used to believe trust was a locked door, either closed or open, either safe or broken. But I was wrong. Trust is more like an old house in weather. It shifts. It creaks. It needs checking after storms. Sometimes the latch sticks and someone has to admit the cold is getting in. Nora's secret hurt me. My silence hurt her. My absence hurt Jonah before he even knew my face. None of that disappeared because we finally told the truth. But the truth gave us something lies never could, a place to start. So now, when I come home and see that third key missing from the hook, I don't panic. I don't imagine every terrible ending first. I breathe. I hang up my coat. I ask what time Jonah said he'd be back. I listen when Nora answers. And some nights, when the house is quiet and Biscuit is asleep on the clean towels, I take Marin's letter from the drawer where I keep the important things. Not hidden. Kept. I read the line about a door that opens, and I think maybe love is not the absence of locked rooms. Maybe love is choosing, again and again, to hand someone the key before fear convinces you to swallow it.